I want to talk. There's this notion that ego has, that the mind has, that speaking fears out loud, giving them voice, is somehow giving them power. When of course it's the opposite. Of course it's the opposite. It's acknowledging them, it's accepting them, it's expressing them that brings them into the light, instead of shoving them in this dark corner, being afraid of fears. You bring them out. You show them off. You parade them around like delicate little show ponies. And in doing so, realize they're not so big and bad and scary. It's only in the dark that they look that way. Everything is different in the light. Everything is softer and clearer and easier. So of course the fears don't want you to pull them out there. They want to stay big and bad and scary. Once you look at them up close, they don't have the same power. If you're not afraid of a fear, then actually it has no control over you. If it's just a sensation that you're experiencing in the moment, then it's not such a big deal. And it doesn't have any more power. You actually diffuse the power of fears when you bring them into the light and you share and express them. And I am understanding that in action, in practice, more and more. Of course it makes sense. Everything we try to control controls us, especially fear. If you're trying to control fear, if you're trying to shut it down or shove it away, that's what it wants. That means it has the grip over you. If you're afraid of fear and trying to kill it, trying to get rid of it, that resistance is what keeps it there and what keeps you bound in power struggle with it. If you just accept it, the feeling, whatever it is, and you speak it, you give it voice, you let it out, then you stop resisting, and it stops having any ability to control you. I've been wondering, this is related, but not entirely. I've been wondering how much ego has co-opted the making of these videos in my expressions here. And that's not to invalidate the value of the expression taking place. I just wonder, I've been noticing the itchiness. There's something uncomfortable in ego about not doing it, and I wonder if it hasn't been using the producing of a video as a way to prove worth, as a way to feel valued because it's doing something, because it's making something. There is a fine line, a delicate difference between feeling inspired to sing, to make a sound, to move, to speak, and delighting in that motion through you, and feeling Like if you don't, your value is diminished. If you don't move, if you don't speak, if you're not making sound, what worth do you have? That's where ego comes in. And I think it has certainly played a role here. That to an extent, making these videos has been comforting to ego, because something is being done. Something is being created. And again, we're here to create, of course, as a natural expression of self. But it's that alignment. What is the motivation behind it? Is it inspiration? Does it feel good? Is this a pure desire driving this that I just couldn't possibly keep it in because it feels so good to me? Or is there something else? Is there an uncomfortable feeling that I'm running from even now, even right now? Is there an uncomfortable feeling? Ooh, yeah. Yeah, there is. There is. Is there an uncomfortable feeling that I'm running from? By doing this. There's some sort of there's a form of validation taking place internally from this, that it's like it's okay to feel this, as long as it has some sort of result. Ego wants there to be an outcome. It's what it's always focused on. It's always trying to achieve some end. It doesn't like to let things be the end in themselves. In other words, expression for expression's sake, feeling just because there is no meaning, there's nothing it's trying to do or achieve. It's just here. It's just what is. It feels that way about all of existence, all of being. If my being is not trying to achieve something, if it doesn't have some greater purpose, then what's the point of it? That's what it says. And what value does it have? If nothing comes from my being, then what worth does it have? That's what it's saying, ultimately. So even this it's kind of a cop-out, making this video, because something is being produced and there's a portion of ego that is feeling less diminished because of that. God, it's such a tangled thing. There's shame around that it feels, and I am just wanting to observe all of this, to identify as many components as possible, not to identify with, to align myself with, but just to witness. Again, it's such a fine line for me between the process of examination versus observance. Because examination likes to pick apart. Examination likes to dig in and really understand essentially so that it can prevent, again, so that it can achieve something. It wants to achieve something by this examination. We're fixing, we're changing, it's somehow there's value being proven by the examination of self. No, that's not how it works. It's just the witness, it's just the observation. There's not something to understand here to try to fix. There's nothing broken. There's nothing fucking broken. It's just looking. It's just experiencing what is coming through in the present moment. That's it. It's not to try to understand. It's not to try to be better or try to be more whole. You're already whole. You're already whole. You're already all of these things. We're just looking at all of the things we already are, because all of it's here. It's not missing. There's nothing missing. There's nothing we're trying to piece back together or find or collect or return. It's all here. It's all always here. And we're just witnessing which part is at the surface right now. That's it. The whole of the ocean exists simultaneously. There's never a piece of it missing. We're just looking at what the wave is that's rippling across right now. Right now. What's this wave contain? What's at the surface in this moment? Everything is still all there. It's all always there. And the ocean doesn't become less the ocean just because it's still. Just because there's nothing in particular running across it. If it looks any more green or blue, or if it's dark or clear, none of that matters. It's never less the ocean, and it's never less beautiful. It's never less whole. It's never less worthy. It is never less of itself. Never. If it's more salty or more watery, if it is acidic or basic, whatever its content, whatever the form, it is always the ocean. It's always complete. It's always right. And it never needs to be anything other than that. It never needs to be any different or anything specific. To be this majestic, infinite, miraculous thing that you just want to gaze at with appreciation, in awe of its beauty. It's always beautiful. Whatever it looks like, whatever it's doing, it's beautiful. Always, all the time. There is never a second that it's not. And it's never less fascinating. You could just sit and watch the ocean forever. That's what this is. That's what being is. That's what Source is doing all of the time. Our spirit, our soul, just sitting, watching in awe and appreciation of this, of the vast undulating ocean of self that is always itself and yet never the same thing twice. And it is always absolutely beautiful and absolutely perfect. I gotta get the door for UPS. Okay, UPS has their shit, and I've blown my nose, so that's about it anyway. Just noticing again that my value, the sense of value, feels diminished in not making these videos. So there's definitely ego playing a big role there. And I'm not saying that it's bad or wrong. I'm not judging that in any way. I'm just noticing. I'm just calling that out. And I'm not sure exactly what I do with it. Other than look at it. And maybe I don't know. I don't know. I play it by ear, as always. I just want to pay attention to the motivation for these things. There are times when I do feel really inspired to share something. There's something that feels good, and I just want to express it. I feel like it's information that has benefited me, or really it just feels good to me. So why would I not speak it? That kind of thing. But even there, it's tricky to keep that influence pure, to let it be pure inspiration. And again, I'm not going to judge the role of ego there. If it's getting its kicks too, then okay. Okay. It's certainly all allowed. Just don't want to derive any sense of my worth from that, because that makes it very clearly very fragile. If something stops, if I stop making videos, if I stop pulling cards, again, that's been a big one. Ego's formed an identity around all of this. It's kind of co-opted this expression in a big way. So I don't know. Again, trying not to judge it, just be aware of it. There's nothing wrong with desiring recognition either, with desiring connection and communication, certainly. We wouldn't feel this compulsion to create if we didn't want to share so strongly, if it didn't feel good to share a creation. I'm just leery of I don't know how to put it. Everything I've already said, I guess, that I'm just repeating. Is my creating purely for the joy of it and the enjoyment of myself? And yes, the desire to share, but really in desire, in the good feeling, in fun, having fun with it, wanting to share that fun and that passion and that inspiration? Or is it seeking to cover something up, to feel better, to mollify, to sort of comfort and soothe something else? And again, there's not judgment of that, but could I not better serve myself in just letting that wound be held and not trying to placate it, not trying to make it feel better, but just feel it? To just be the open wound that says, ouch, this hurts, and let that be what it is. It's a natural inclination of ego, the protective mechanism, to try and cover that, of course, and there's no shame in that. But I want those wounds to be open and exposed. I want them to breathe. I want them to have air and light and not be covered up with anything. And if that means they hurt a little more, then that's what I want. And I'm not doing it because I want them to close, because I want them to go away, because I want them to heal. No, I just want them to have their time in the light. I just want them to be loved. I want to love them. I want to hold them. I want to breathe on them and with them. I want to explore that wound because it's a feature of me, not because I'm trying to sew it shut or get it to scab over. Because I want to see it, because I want to explore myself, because myself is endlessly fascinating and beautiful and perfect as it is. And that wound, all of them, they're included. They're included and they don't need to change. Nor do they need to be hidden. I just want to hold them up. I don't need to be healed. I just want to be whole. And I know that I already am. So let me examine the whole of myself. And if the part of myself that is at the surface is something that looks like a wound, I'll recognize that I'm characterizing it, first of all. That it's not a flaw, it's a feature. It's just more of me to love in its nuance, in its perfection, exactly as it is. So that's what I want to do. And I know I'm doing that all the time. And I'm only getting better at it. And that is pleasing to me. That's it. Thank you for your witness. I witness you. In whatever this is. Blessed be.